You're tuned to the Leadership Strategy Foundry with host Neil Evans. In each episode, he interviews top influencers in the financial services business sector. One of them might just spark that idea that ignites your bottom line. Here's Neil.
Welcome to today's episode of the Leadership Strategy Foundry. For those of you just joining us, we speak with leaders across the financial services and business advisory sectors about strategy, execution, decision-making, and what actually drives better outcomes inside growing businesses. Today, we're joined by a guest with a practical perspective on how small businesses owners move from bookkeeping and financial reporting into real financial clarity, better cash flow, and stronger decision-making. Today, we're joined by Yuliya Khrystych, founder of Accent Advisory Services, where she provides bookkeeping and fractional CFO support for small businesses with a particular focus on service-based businesses and, believe it or not, veterinary practices. Very, very cool. Yuliya's work sits at the intersection of clean books, cash flow visibility, profitability, and owner decision making. What makes her perspective especially useful is that she is not just looking at whether the numbers are accurate. She's focused on what those numbers actually mean and how owners can use them to lead the business with more confidence. Yuliya, really a pleasure to have you on this episode of Leadership Strategy Foundry. And I know I butchered your name, but let's go anyway. You ready?
All right, Neil, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure speaking with you today, and I look forward to seeing how it all unfolds.
All right, let's just jump in. So, Yuliya, what originally pulled you into bookkeeping and fractional CFO work, and how did you begin focusing on service-based businesses and veterinary practices? I still think that's very cool. I'm an animal lover. You're an animal lover, right?
Absolutely. Well, things kind of just fell into their place over time. I'm pretty good with numbers, and I've discovered that many people are more artistic and less number focused, and it's just really daunting for many business owners to actually focus on the numbers, not have it be on the back burner, not have the bookkeeping and financials just be something that hangs over their heads across the time of their business. I find many business owners struggling and scrambling at tax time or when an important milestone comes in their business to get their financials in order. And for me, it comes fairly easily. It makes sense to me. And beyond that, it gives me great satisfaction to see those books balanced, the business owners to be informed and able to make those operational decisions based on real data.
Do you keep a neat desk or a messy desk like mine?
I love having a neat desk, but as we all know, life gets ahead of us sometimes and things do pile up. But when I get a moment to clean it up, it just gives me such a clear and good feeling.
All
So
right, good. So speaking of clear, you make a clear distinction between bookkeeping and CFO level strategy, right? From your perspective, where do most owners misunderstand the difference between having reports and actually understanding what the numbers mean?
So the way I look at this difference is bookkeeping is backwards looking. It's recording what has already happened. Oh, there he is.
There he is. Good.
And advisory and CFO services are forward-looking financials. So we do budgeting, forecasting, and cash flows that would allow business owners to make future decisions based on real data, based on historical data, but also industry trends and things like that.
Seems like bookkeeping is kind of a natural feeder for being a fractional CFO because you've got the data to work with up front as opposed to going into a company and going dredging, right?
Absolutely. You cannot do advisory and forward-looking financials without having clean and clear books first and foremost.
When you first start working with a business owner, What tends to stand out early as a sign that the financial side of the business was built only to record history, not to support decisions?
They're not sure if their pricing is correct. They're not sure if they can hire new people or grow their practice. They're just flying by the seat of their pants. They're sometimes barely making their cash obligations every month. Uh, on paper, they might seem to be profitable, but they're still struggling to have day-to-day things be taken care of.
Do you find that it's fairly natural for you to sort of morph in from the bookkeeper to the fractional CFO? Because people maybe get, I'm just kind of planting the seed here, but is that sort of a natural transition for you? Have you found that that works in your business really well?
Well, I think it's a natural next step for myself and for many businesses because once you clean up the books, you want to grow, you want to be more profitable, and the only way to do it is by knowing your financials in and out.
What do you find roughly is the size business, probably revenue wise, I'd guess, maybe people wise, but what revenue dollar would you say that probably it's wise for a business to have a fractional CFO?
Honestly, definitely over $1 million in revenue, but even smaller businesses can benefit from it. Couple 100,000, 500,000. It's not something that you need a full-time CFO for, but
Right.
having a professional who can dig deeper and make sense of those numbers can really take you from where you are to the next level to where you want to be.
Hmm. You talk about owners feeling behind on bookkeeping, reports, taxes, and goals. How does that typically play out inside the business before they realize they need a more strategic financial partner?
Well, kind of like what I already mentioned, generally it's cash flow issues.
Hmm.
That's the first one that pops up, is when you're kind of scrambling when payroll comes around, you're not prepared for big cash draws for investing in new equipment or products or inventory, things like that. So basically, cash flow.
Basically, cash flow. Can you kind of define, as a fractional CFO, so I hire you and your role is going to be what? What is actually your role going to be as a fractional CFO for my little company of 1 million bucks?
We would go through your books and make sure they're actually accurate first,
Hmm.
because you can't really make next steps without clean and clear data.
Hmm.
Um, we would review your pricing. We would work on the cash flow statement to make sure that you're running a sustainable operation. And those are kind of the first steps that what we're going to look at
Got
together.
a lot of projections in there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of projections. Hmm.
But we would also get on a schedule of looking at things together, talking through them, making suggestions of what tweaks you can do to your operations to make your next goals possible. Profit margins, many people are not even aware of what their profit margins are. That's what you would be looking at first to correct your pricing if it's not where it should be.
Got you. Okay, interesting. For service businesses, including the veterinary practices, which you just kind of fell into, right? Specifically, where do you most often see profit or cash flow leaking without the owners realizing it? I mean, you're hunting in the books, right? So you have the bookkeeping, then you go in and you're looking at strategy, projections, et cetera, et cetera. So you're kind of like a detective at that point, right? Where do you find the biggest ebb hole in the boat, so to speak? Speaking of boat.
Oh. Well, it all comes back to pricing. I think many people don't do analysis per product that they sell. They're not aware of what the expenses are per
Mm.
product. They know what their total expenses for the business is, but not necessarily breaking it down per each individual thing they sell. And because of that, they don't know the exact profit margins per product. Once we break that down, we can adjust and make small tweaks to bring that pricing up to where it should be. And that was going to make a huge difference for most veterinary practice owners or any service business in general.
Anyone, do you find that on the expense side, you know, on the P&L that you find leakage where they're not controlling their expenses that are not attributable to products, all your indirect stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Things add up quickly. Like I said, many business owners are visionaries and creatives, and that can run away really fast with improving and uh, making increases to various creative things in the business. But that's where having clean books monthly and taking a look at your numbers at least quarterly is going to kind of allow you to check back in with where things are before it's the end of the year and you purchase things that are not really moving that needle forward.
I kind of brought that up because one of my favorite quotes is a Benjamin Franklin quote that says, "Even a small leak can sink a large ship." You know, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You've written about businesses that are growing but still feel financially unclear. What do you think revenue growth so often fails to translate into confidence, stability, or better cash flow?
We love to look at the top line. That gives us a lot of warm and fuzzy feelings. But the bottom line is what matters. And so, there's only two ways to improve your profit is increase your revenue or decrease your expenses. Doing both of those things at the same time will speed up the process. So, yeah.
Do you ever get called in, or you're working in that sort of pre-seed seed stage size businesses, right? Do you ever get called in specifically by a business owner that says, "I want to be adopted by a PE or a VC or something like that, and I've got to get myself in order to be able to even present to them or to pitch to them." Have you been in that spot before?
Not usually, but maybe in the future that would be one of the things I offer.
Yeah, there's a lot of that around, especially on this channel we're talking about. It's full of VCs and PEs that are dealing with companies that are in the $1 to $3 million range. So
Right.
kind of a good spot for you. So
Yeah.
um, are there early signals you've learned to recognize that an owner is making decisions from stress or guesswork instead of financial visibility?
I mean, many people's books are in complete chaos when I come to them. So that is definitely number one uh, thing that we focus on is just bringing things back to basics and making sure you actually have solid numbers to look at.
Do do business ever come to you kind of at the bottom of that question was, I'm in a panic situation because either I'm going to be audited or somebody wants to buy me or whatever the case may be. Do you ever get in those panic situations where the owner is actually physically stressed because, man, you got to help me out, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Those are not fun situations to be in, but there's only one way out of it. Just clean things up, get a hold of what's happening, and move forward with better decisions and better action as far as your financials are.
So you come out with your stethoscope and check for a heartbeat and all of that stuff, right?
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
part of our jobs is to be a little bit of a hand holder and a therapist to the business owners, being like, okay, we can handle it. It's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But once you do it once or twice, you want to prevent it in the future, and hopefully that's how we get our. So when people come to me with cleanups, that's where they usually are. They're stressed out, they're concerned, they're upset, and we clean it up. They feel that relief. And the next best step is to get on that monthly, quarterly cadence so that that doesn't happen again.
Oh, there you go. Everybody loves stories. I'm sure our audience loves stories. So I'm hoping you could tell us a story. And can you walk us through a situation where cleaning up the numbers or interpreting the patterns changed the way an owner made decisions? So you're called in, just kind of reframe that a little bit. Can you kind of talk about the transition it made in maybe one of your actual businesses without naming the names, of course? Got you on the spot there, but
Um, well, I had a small cleanup client who repeatedly came to me in the end of the year, stressed out because it's tax time, her books are not clean, and it took a long time to untangle things that happened 10 months ago. And it was just an unpleasant space to be in. Plus, she had to pay large chunks of money for the cleanup and for the like rapid help that she would receive from me. And that happened several years in a row. This last year, we got started way earlier in the year. And by the time her books were clean, she was just so relieved. And it was such a breath of fresh air that she decided to abandon her old practice of waiting till the last minute to get things cleaned up. And this year, she's actually coming back for monthly services so that we don't have to have that stressful situation at the end of the year where everybody panics, she's stressed out, and most importantly, she has to pay those large sums of money to come up with books in a matter of weeks or months.
have you gotten into situations in your business where the clients are on the verge of they get that little letter from the IRS that says we'd like to talk to you, and all of a sudden the panic is I've got to clean up my books for the IRS. Have you been through that?
Not exactly, but I've definitely cleaned up the books for various other emergency
Oh,
situations. So,
gotcha. I
yeah.
gotcha. All right. As you're looking at your own business today, what are you most focused on? I'm just having trouble talking here, but what are you most focused on refining or improving in how you help owners move from financial overwhelm to clarity? So, you've got the rest of 2026 to go, and kind of what's your goal for maybe refining your own processes and helping owners and uh, transitioning into a different state. Not,
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Well, I think like for many younger growing businesses, when you first start out, first you wear all the hats, your processes are kind of um, not exactly well defined, and you try to help everybody. And it's more the plus side of that is having super personalized, individualized service for everybody. But as you grow and you scale, you have to focus on those standard operating procedures, creating processes and systems that are repeatable, that can be supported by a growing team that works for your business. And the benefit of that for the client is that they get reliable, repeatable service that they can depend on. So potentially narrowing down the scope to have more precise product that we offer. Um, that's how most businesses tend to grow, and that's kind of the stage that we are at.
Are you deploying or leveraging AI in your own business yet?
I am, but mostly on administrative and tasks that are not directly related to my product.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha. You know, as Accent Advisory Solutions grows, right? Where does the pressure tend to show up first? Is it in client education, onboarding, data quality, service delivery, or helping owners actually act on the insights that you provide? What would you say, which is the most friction point?
Well, it's hard to select absolutes like the number one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely acting on the advice is very important because none of it matters if you don't take action. But creating consistent, repeatable product with a growing team is something that definitely needs a lot of focus and effort in the beginning. And marketing and lead generation. Again, I'm a numbers person. I like to focus on the product and on interacting with my clients. But the lead generation and marketing is not maybe my top personal skill. So figuring that out for us is one of the priorities this year as well.
Oh, cool. Well, but I mean that is a great response and an honest response. Appreciate that. But from your perspective, though, the pressure you mentioned is lead generation, or one of the pressures is lead generation is growth. So anything else as far as like educating clients, beating up clients? Do you have a ruler, you smack their, little fingers, or they come into your office if they actually came into your office and you get a box of tissues there in case they start crying when they see their results, whatever.
I love education personally for myself and for other people. So I feel like once we get to that point in the conversation, um, most people are open and ready to receive the information I'm giving them. And that is something that I look forward to in each developing relationship with my clients. I love educating and I love seeing those light bulbs go off and things actually change for the better for my clients.
As we're kind of getting close to wrapping up, how about sharing an insight that you would like the audience to know or to have, or a feeling that you would like to say to, hey, you guys out there, do this, or think about that, or whatever. Got a parting thought for them?
Everything goes back to pricing and actually tracking expenses by product. Feel like most people don't do it. Give yourself a favor and start focusing on those profit margins per product. That would
I,
be my parting gift.
I think that's great. And I would have said that myself, is understanding the fully loaded cost of your products, because there's a lot of stuff that sneaks into with a product cost, like somebody using the credit card to buy stuff that never gets into the books, or whatever. So they never know actually how much that product costs. That's great. So my final question for you, Yuliya, is, and this I ask this of every guest that comes on the show, so you can always go back to the channel and see what they say. But if you could wave a magic wand, okay, and solve one challenge within your own business, or the way small business owners approach financial management today, what would it be? You get one wish. Or if you prefer the Aladdin lamp, that's okay. You could rub a genie comes out and says, okay, you get one wish today, not three. Today's discount day, but for me.
Well, I feel like I already talked about many of these things, but
Yeah.
and if there was another thing that I haven't mentioned before is maybe not being afraid of delegating and not trying to wear all the hats in your business, because you cannot do everything, and if you do try to do everything, you cannot do it well. So maybe releasing a little bit of that micromanagement and the power struggle, and just being able to delegate and delegate well, which would of course require documenting your standard operating procedures and creating those processes.
Yeah, there would have to be a digital Yuliya. I think that's what the current term is. I'm working on, believe it or not, building a digital Neil right now with Claude. So that it can replicate at least my process so I can talk to it and bounce ideas off it. Anyway, Yuliya, it was really a pleasure having you on this episode of Leadership Strategy Foundry, but I need you to tell people how they can get a hold of you. We'll just Chiron that right onto the podcast when I get the podcast produced in the next week or two. So let people know how to reach you, either through your website or your email address or both, however you like.
Sure. You can reach me at Yuliya at accentways.com. So Yuliya is Yuliya at accentways.com. And you can see my website at accentways.com as well.
Super. Well, once again, Yuliya, it was great having you on this episode, and really appreciate your time. And I think that that the audience will resonate with your heart, actually, because I think you speak with your heart when you speak. And thanks again. And I'll just say that's a wrap, and we'll wave goodbye to everybody in the audience and say have
Neil,
a
thank you
great day.
so much for having me. I really appreciated you talking to me today. Have a good one.
Thanks. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
We hope you enjoyed the session and hope you picked up a pearl or two. Just a parting note, of the many business leaders to whom we speak, we find that one of their most pervasive issues is about filling their pipelines with qualified leads. If that's an area of concern where your organization could use an assist, head on over to aisolutionsfoundry.com and book a complimentary strategy session. This is one of our many programs that help organizations like yours build financial value that drops directly to their bottom line. See you on the next episode of the Leadership Strategy Foundry.